Has your company sent an email like this to you yet? Hello, valued employee. We are pleased to announce that after years of working remotely, we're ready to begin the process of returning employees to the workplace immediately, as in get in your car and make your way to the office. If this hasn't happened to you yet, there's a good chance that it's going to happen. Employers are desperate to get people back into the office. Why? There's two reasons. The first reason is a good reason. The second reason is kind of awful. So let's start with the awful reason. Why are companies desperate to have you back in the office? It's about control. These leaders don't know how to lead well. It's not about remote or hybrid or in the office full time. They simply don't understand good leadership. What they do understand is what I call nannyship. In other words, they need to monitor you so that they feel like they are doing a good job as a leader. See, if they don't see you, they don't trust you. Trying to force the old rituals of work that made them feel important is what now is making them feel comfortable. If they don't see you, they wonder, are you doing a good job? And if they're not doing a good job and it gets back to me or even my leaders that they're not doing a good job, it's my butt on the line. And thus the fear that leads to the control, and they feel like they've got to monitor you. They don't have a relationship with you to where they know that they can rely on you because they actually trust you. So now they feel like they have to micromanage you. They have to monitor you. Now, this can lead to a lot of resentment. And many times they actually have resentment over the fact that their leaders have told them they have to be back in the office. And so now they pass it on to you. And the resentment just turns into this feedback loop. You don't trust me. You feel like you got to monitor me. They resent the fact that they're being monitored and that they're being told they have to monitor you. In a 2022 survey, 44% of executives said they wanted to come back to the office every day. They prefer it. It's their rhythm. But just 17% of employees said the same. So there is a gap as it relates to preference. And so bad leaders are going to always default to control. They will always default to preference. Now, I'm not taking the position that remote work is the best way or the only way. I'm simply saying there is a big shift happening right now between companies that allowed you to work remote before, and now they're saying you got to come back in. But their reason isn't good when it's all about control or comfortability. That's going to come across to you as really empty, and that creates even more tension. Now, there is a really good reason why companies want you back in the office. And I don't know that they're desperate here. They're just simply looking at the results. I believe collaboration is the healthy reason, the good reason why leaders and managers want you back in the office. Even at a hybrid model where there are a few days in and a few days out, they believe, and I think they're correct, that the communication, collaboration, and overall culture are better when their teams are together in person. Now, this is not to say that you can't have good communication, that you can't have good collaboration, and have a decent and healthy culture if you're mostly remote. I know people who run completely remote companies, and they figured it out. It does require good systems and really intentional communication and connection. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at remote and people being separate and people being together, I don't think it's even close. Let's look at this idea of culture. What does it mean? Culture is shared behaviors. You can pick up on a culture of a company by even being a visitor and hanging out for 10 to 15 minutes and just paying attention to how do people act, how do people talk, how do they listen, what's the energy in the room. This essentially is a culture. Whether you intend to have a culture or not, you have a culture because every company and even every family has shared behaviors. So when you look at developing an intentional culture, being together is always going to be better. I believe that with everything that I am. And again, I'm not saying that it can't be good when you're separate at times, but there needs to be intentionality to be together. Productivity might be better for some of you when you work remotely. I get that. You want to be left alone. Deep work, that's happening when you're by yourself, isolated. I get it. But when you look at communication, when you look at collaboration, the creativity there, when we're in the room, the energy is better. And when you're trying to develop a very specific culture that this is who we are, why we are, and how we live that out, then the more that a company has people together, the more powerful each of those elements become. So let's look at the future. We are in this really interesting time in history where we're seeing that the amount of workers in America that are working in the office now are back to pre-pandemic levels. The difference this time is the hybrid model is the new way. Even large companies that are saying, we were full-time remote, now you're back in, they're not saying 5 days a week. So there has been a compromise. And the hybrid model is the compromise. So the real big question is, who wins in this tug of war? Employees that would prefer to be remote all or most of the time, or executives who want a 50-50 model or prefer you back in all of the time? Who's going to win? Well, the answer is we don't know. But I think all of us need to be prepared to see work kind of stay in this messy middle for a while. The new winning style of work will give everybody, employees, employers, equal parts of accountability and autonomy. See, the accountability is really important to the leader, and I understand that. And the autonomy part is very important to the employee. We all want to have enough trust with our leaders that we can do the work that we're asked to do and not have someone hovering over us. So the big question isn't necessarily where we work. I believe it's why we work and how we work. This is what leaders have to understand. If we get into this battle of where we work, as in remote or in the office, we're missing the whole picture. Why do we work and how do we work? Do we have people that are on board because they believe in the product and service and they're missional? They're in a seat where they can use what they do best to do what they enjoy, to produce results that they care about. That's the why. And the how is, what's our system look like? Do we trust each other? Do we really communicate clearly so that people can be left alone to go deliver the results and we have good measurements for those results? So at the end of the day, the where doesn't matter near as much as the why and the how. You figure that out, you're going to figure out much healthier cultures. And then we're not arguing over this, how many hours I'm in, how many hours I'm out. Because the way we see work and the way we do work is changing, and it's going to continue to change. Let's do it together. Employees, employers, figuring out a way. Let's get a good rhythm so that we deliver the results that we all agree we want to deliver.